Let's look at this thing. The tragedy of being the side chick. The tragedy of being the side chick. The Urban Dictionary defines the other woman, and that's what the side chick is, the other woman. The Urban Dictionary defines the other woman as the woman standing in the way between a woman and the guy she loves. Some urban synonyms for the side chick are sleep around, side piece, chicken head. Wow. Betty Wright called her the cleanup woman. Andre Arnaz, featuring Meta, called her the side piece. Seven the Poet says that they are friends with benefits and she's the only one not benefiting. Now there are three types of side chick. There's the one who connects with a man who is neglected at home by his wife, and the both of them fall into mutual unintended attraction, and she happens to be the side chick. The second one is the one that doesn't even know she's the side chick. She thinks she's the main chick, even though he doesn't spend the night there very often. Even though she never met his family, she believes, some kind of way she believes that she's the main one, and this man has a family and a wife and a whole different life on the other side of town. Thirdly, there's the one that knows she's the side chick and doesn't care because she has a moral deficiency or an underestimation of her value. She is victimized by a predator who has zoned in on her lack of self-appreciation and her incapacity, if that's a word, I make up words every now and then, to see herself and her worth. So she settles. She settles. Now, why does a man, who are you, what do I do? I'm so confused, I don't know who I am anymore. Okay, stay with me, we're going to figure it out. Why does a man keep a side chick? Number one, a man will keep a side chick because he's too childish to commit to one woman. Number two, he's using the side chick to fulfill things sexually that he wouldn't ask of his wife. Sometimes, he's not gotten all the freak out of him, and he gets married and his wife won't do all of that stuff for him. So he finds a side chick who has been slave conditioned, is what I call it, by society, to believe that if she doesn't have a man of some kind, that she has lost, that she lacks value, and that she's deficient, she's incomplete. So he zones in on that lack of self-appreciation, and he uses her for sexual fulfillment that he cannot get at home with his wife. The third reason a man keeps a side chick is because the side chick lets him use her as second string. He has a side chick because she allows him to have a side chick. Now, the biblical term for what we call in this urban vernacular a side chick is concubine. And a concubine was a woman who performed, listen to this carefully, a concubine was a woman who performed wifely duties but was treated as a second-class citizen. She performed wifely duties but was treated as a second-class citizen. Now, women who gloat, and you all really have to really begin to have this conversation among yourselves, because my husband, chick, man, chick, front chick, and back chick. I know that's right. Be all of that to your man, when you got a good one. You know, there you go. But watch this. Um, you all are in a generation of women that are proud to be the side chick. They are proud to be the side chick. They're proud to be number two. They're proud to come off of the bench, to use basketball terms. They're proud of it. And what they're doing is they're diminishing the world's perspective of womanhood. Now, women who gloat in the idea of being the side chick are effectively, as I just said, coming off of the bench to play a specific role and then go back to the bench. Now, she had better go back quietly or else she'll be traded. See, side chicks can always be traded. She's just a role player. She's not LeBron James. She's just a role player. She doesn't even need a name on the back of her jersey because nobody knows who she is. She comes off of the bench to play a specific role in this dude's life. He'll tell her whatever she wants to hear. If he has the money, he'll pay her little bills or whatever. Just, play your role. Now there are reasons why women submit to this kind of degraded status in life. Number one is the father gap, absent fathers. This has degenerated the self-esteem of women to the point that they would rather have a piece of somebody else's man than have all of their own. Present and loving fathers establish, we talked about this last night here in Indy, present and loving fathers establish the self-esteem settings in little girls, which plays out in her standards as a woman. That's a part of my assignment today, is to be a spiritual father to women worldwide, actually, and to establish the self-esteem settings in women by the anointing that God has put on my life to father. Because women settle for such a degraded place in society as being the side chick because of the father gap. Second reason is antiquated religion. Antiquated religion has subjugated the woman's self-perspective and beat her into an inferior position. And this has indirectly robbed the woman of her dignity, which plays out in her choices. And then the third reason is that many women live with the fantasy. The man makes her believe that he's going to leave his wife and kids for her one day. And if I could just get, I don't want nobody to put your business out there, but if I could just get a show of hands of how many of y'all had some man tell you, I'm going to leave her. I don't love her. I'm not really, in love with her. I'm really feeling you, and it's just a matter of time. Man, come on. Come on, it's a fantasy, man. Ain't no man leaving his wife and his children and his reputation and his financial status. It costs to leave a wife. He ain't doing it. Now, the cycle goes like this. From stringing the side chick along on years of lies about leaving one day. He strings you along, years of lies. I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave. I'm on my way. This is our year. This is our time. The days turn into decades. And now she's middle-aged. Now it's no longer him stringing her along. It's her holding on for dear life because she's traded her destiny for a fantasy. Do not trade your destiny for a fantasy. I pause because I want you to think about that. That's a Selah moment. What does it mean when he does leave his wife? Well, there are different dynamics to relationships. You got to work all of that out. It does happen. Sometimes people do leave. Sometimes people really are not happy at home. It's not really working or whatever. My objective tonight is to hopefully encourage those of you who hear me to never put yourself in the position of being the side chick. That's my objective. And then if he does leave his wife for the side chick, what's to say that he's not going to find another side chick if he happens to marry the side chick? What's to say he's not going to get another side chick? If his character was flawed enough to have a side piece the first time, what's to say he's not going to do it the second time? So that's not, my point is, as a spiritual father, you know, being the side chick is not a position queens want to be in. Proverbs 25:19 says, and this is the Message Bible version, it says, trusting a double crosser when you're in trouble is like biting down on an abscessed tooth. How can you trust a man who's not trustworthy? Okay, here you go. Now, let me read this for you. I wasn't going to read it, but these are lyrics from a song called Outside Woman by Bloodstone, a former R&B, soul, and funk group. They were most popular in the 1970s and the early 80s. Here the words. Watch this. Watch this. 'Cause you're the outside woman, don't feel bad. Don't cry. I lay next to another woman, but I call out your name. Calling, your name. Yeah, babe. And I really want to see you right now, but right now I can't change a thing. Can't change a thing. Can't change a thing. But just remember, girl, I love you, and as soon as I can break away and see you, baby, don't feel bad. Sometimes it seems a million years between our little get-togethers. Oh, yeah, but I know that you know that I know that you think things ain't gonna get any better. Get any better. But just remember, girl, I love you, and as soon as I can, I'll break away and see you, baby. Don't feel bad. Now, y'all mean to tell me? Okay, here we go. Let's get in. The tragedy of being the side chick. Here we go. Concubines in the Bible were reserved for men with money and power. Men with money and power in this society today quite often have side chicks. You know, men that travel as much as I do, for instance, will have a woman on the East Coast, will have a woman on the West Coast, will have a woman in the Midwest. The classic biblical example of a side chick is a sister by the name of Hagar. Hagar was a slave to Abraham's wife, Sarah. Through a series of events, she became Abraham's side chick. Hagar even had a baby for Abraham, and it turned out tragic. Let me read for you Genesis 16, 1-7. Sarah, Abram's wife, hadn't yet produced a child. This is the Message Bible version. Yes, I am. Can y'all see me still? Yeah, your signal must be bad. Sarah, Abram's wife, hadn't yet produced a child. She had an Egyptian maid named Hagar. Sarah said to Abram, God has not seen fit to let me have a child. Sleep with my maid. Maybe I can get a family from her. Abram agreed to do what Sarah said. So Sarah, Abram's wife, took her Egyptian maid Hagar and gave her to her husband Abram as a wife. Interesting thing is that Abram didn't resist. Abram had been living 10 years in Canaan when this took place. He slept with Hagar and she got pregnant. When she learned she was pregnant, she looked down on her mistress, Sarah, told Abram, it's all your fault that I'm suffering this abuse. Now, she brought the woman to the man. I put my maid in bed with you, and the minute she knows she's pregnant, she treats me like I'm nothing. May God decide which of us is right. You decide, said Abram. Your maid is your business. Sarah was abusive to Hagar, and she ran away. An angel of God found her beside a spring in the desert. It was the spring on the road to Shur. Okay, well we're gonna pull some wisdom from this. So did you follow the story? Sarah couldn't have a child. She has a slave by the name of Hagar. She gives her slave sexually to her husband Abram. Wants the slave to have a child. She gonna take the child and that's going to be her family. When the girl gets pregnant, she looks down on Sarah as if to say, you couldn't have a child. I had one. I'm having one. But there are a few things I want you to see. Number one, relative to Hagar being the biblical model of the side chick. Number one, she was in this position because she was a slave with a slave's mindset. Hagar was put in this position because she was a slave and she had a slave's mindset. Hagar was never asked to agree to this arrangement. Never asked to agree. There's no record that she even had feelings for Abram. She was a slave, so she did what slaves do. They do what they are told. Why am I teaching this stuff? I am teaching this stuff because this is a generation of women that have been enslaved to a perverted male society's standards. And you don't even realize that you're simply doing the bidding of your psychological masters. They dress you up with clothing that is too small and too tight, and they put you on videos and they make sex objects of you. And they make you think that you got to have a man at any cost, even at the cost of your dignity. And you don't realize that you are a modern day slave. You got to break this slave's mindset, because ain't no need you talking about send me Boaz. Kings don't marry slaves. There are many women today who are functioning like a wife to men that have absolutely no commitment to them at all, because they have been female slave conditioned in their minds. Kings don't marry slaves. See, you sitting and tell you want to come and you want to give me a prayer request. You want me to bring prayer requests to Israel, talking about send your husband, but you're in the bed with somebody else's husband now. And you talking about, Pastor, pray for me to get a husband. God ain't sending you no husband while you laying up in the bed, you playing second string. Sometimes you even third string. You ain't even the second woman. You the third. You just on the team. She was in this position because she was a slave. See, we got to get your thinking right. Proverbs 23:7 says, for as he thinks in his heart, so is he. Now, the man's process of enslaving the woman mentally, we talked about it. We talk about it in the book, the Father-Daughter Talk book. If you've not gotten my book, I encourage you to get it. Go to PERISCOPE.com and get it. If you have a Kindle or something like that, you can get it at Amazon and download the electronic version. We talk in the book about how the man enslaves the woman. Number one, conversation. He calculated conversation. He says everything, and always be careful with a man that knows exactly what to say. Second thing he does, he becomes the woman's emotional addiction. He spends all the time with her. He romances her. He gives her everything she can imagine until she gives in sexually. And then the third thing he does is he avoids any level of commitment. So number one, she was in this position because she was enslaved. You know how many times I have women that say to me, Pastor, he's abusive, Pastor. He has multiple women, Pastor. He doesn't come home. He doesn't want to marry me, but I love him. Lil Wayne made one song that I would use, How to Love. When you're a slave condition in your mind, you don't even have a real concept of how to love or what love is. When you don't know how to love yourself, when you think you love somebody to the point that you champion their abuse of you, you need to get out of the game, because you're all twisted up in your mind. I love him. No, you don't love him. You really don't love him. You're just slave conditioned. So you do what Hagar did. You do as you're told. Watch this. Number two, she was being used from the start. Even Hagar was using her. Sarah was using her. Sarah and Abraham used her. Because Sarah, what Sarah say? I can't have a child, so let's use her. She was used. The whole objective from the beginning was to use her. There are a lot of these guys that make y'all think that they love you and that you just the bomb.com. And the only purpose for you is sex. They see something they like physically, and your only reason for existing in their world is sex. They'll tell you whatever you want to hear. You wifey material, one of these days, I can't see myself without you. And the whole objective from the beginning is to use you. That's the whole objective. Watch this. So in the case of Sarah and Abram, they chose to use her to fulfill something that Sarah couldn't do. And see, a man will use you for stuff his wife can't do. Woo! That got kind of hot there, Pastor Howard.
Freaky Fridays.
Freaky Fridays, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Good God Almighty. You put Freaky Fridays on there?
Mm-hmm.
The side chick is always playing a role that is viewed as, watch this, beneath the wife or something the wife cannot perform. And the reality is that it's still not enough by itself to make him leave number one. Hagar was always second to Sarah, even though she gave, watch this, Hagar gave Abram what Sarah could not at the time, did not at the time, but when it came down to it, what did Abraham say? You choose, do what you want to do with her. She's disposable. You number one, do what you want to do with her. She your slave. Do what you want to do with her. Listen to me well. You must never, as a woman, and I get so many women that push back and want to fight me on this point, and you're just ignorant. And I don't care about nothing about you not liking what I say. You must never settle for second class. You must never settle for second place. Never. Man, take your ball and go home before you coming off the bench playing second string. Deuteronomy 28:13 says, and the Lord shall make thee the head, not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath. God never intended you to be second, never intended you to be coming behind nobody, settling for somebody's, leftovers. Thank you, sir. That's never God's intention for you. Go home and be happy with God. Follow your career. Love God. Make your money. Help somebody. God gonna send you a man that's gonna be your own. And he's gonna honor you. You ain't got to be waiting for no man to come on no schedule. When he through with his wife or his woman or his number one woman and all that kind of stuff. You supposed to have your own man. That you supposed to know he gonna be home at a certain time. When he get off work, he coming home. He gonna be laying up in my bed every night. And then bring him something to eat while he in there if he working. Now, if he don't work, praise the Lord, don't bring him nothing to eat till he get a job. Third thing, Hagar, being the side chick, brought her child into a second-class position. Hagar got pregnant and had a son by the name of Ishmael. The son was legally viewed as a second-class citizen. He was not even considered a rightful heir. When Sarah finally had a son named Isaac, Isaac was referred to in Scripture as Abram's only son. God said, offer up to me thy son, thine only son Isaac. Naturally, he had another son. When you play the role of a side chick, you rarely consider the impact your choices will have on potential children. If you got to be a secret, if you have to be a secret, what do you think your child is going to have to be?
a secret is probably sin.
Yeah, secrets usually are sin. Absolutely. Anything you got to keep a secret is sin. Watch this. Psalm 127, 3 and 4. You got to be a secret. You know that's sin. You ain't got to ask. You ain't got to have no meeting with me about that. You already know that's sin. You know it's not right. Why would you bring a child, innocent child into a situation? Why would you even put yourself in a position to possibly have a kid for somebody that belonged to somebody else? And now you have a child that more than likely will not have an active father in his or her life because of your desperate choices. Psalm 127, 3 and 4 says, Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of the youth. Children will go as far as children are like arrows in the hand of an archer. He pulls back that bow and he sends those children into the future. Well, when you start making babies in situations that start out on a poor foundation, your bow is mighty weak. And it will take the grace of God to give your child the kind of level playing field because of your choices. So in a fatherless generation where men don't have relationships with their legitimate kids, what happens when your child as a secret comes along? All right, number 4. Well, I'm teaching people better now. I want to make certain that folk are not ignorant. Now watch this. If you hear what I'm saying to you and you still go back and do the same thing, then you're stupid. See, you're victim the first time. But when you've gone through it and you learn better and you go back again, now you're volunteer. Now you move into the stupid category. Now I'm not here tonight to just rub on y'all. So if you don't want harsh talk, don't listen to me, because I'm not here to rub on you. You've been rubbed on too long, and this is why you stay in these foolish positions. And I'm tired of watching you go through this stuff unnecessarily. Watch this. Number 4. Hagar ultimately left with nothing. She ultimately left with nothing. When it's all said and done, you will leave with nothing. Once Sarah got tired of Hagar, she made Abram send her away with nothing. And Abram was a rich man. He sent this woman with his biological child away with nothing. Why? Because in the mind of Abraham, see, all the biblical patriarchs, they were not perfect. These were flawed individuals that God just used. In the mind of Abraham and Sarah, Hagar, because she was a slave, was disposable. Sent away with nothing. James 1, 14 and 15 says, But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, brings forth death. You always leave with nothing. You always leave with nothing. Now here's the exit strategy. How do you break out of this thing? Pastor, I'm in this situation. I didn't have a father to teach me. This is my first time hearing a man speak into my life like this, and I really want to come out of this. Number 1, watch this. You got to call it like it is. You can't dress it up. That's why I can't talk cute, and I can't be nice about it. I got to talk straight, and I hope I was going to say, hope I don't offend anybody, but I really do intend to offend you if you're in this position. I hope you get angry with me enough to really think strongly about the position that you are in and who you really are and what you really deserve. You got to call it like it is. This is sin. This is beneath me. You got to call it like it is. Number 2, you got to break it off abruptly. There's no 12-step plan out of, adultery, fornication, whatever you want to call it. There's no 12-step plan to come out of being the side chick. Once you realize that you deserve more than that, you got to break it off abruptly. Oh, but my heart is hurting. Your heart needs to hurt. Let it hurt. Feel that, but get out. Feel that, but get out. Number 3, get honest with the people who love you. See, you've been keeping it a secret, but now you need accountability. You need to tell your girlfriends who you know will hold you to a higher standard. I'm not talking about them other women that's doing the same thing as you. The girlfriends you know who will hold you to a higher standard, confess this to them. Your family, let them know, I've been messing up in this area. You got to have accountability. You need people who going to pull you back when you feel that gravitational pull to slide back into this lifestyle. Number 4, surround yourself with sisters with standards. Dr. Alden Tart out of Atlanta opened up my eyes to something a year or so ago when he came down to the ministry, a Christian psychologist. He said all women need a circle of girlfriends, but quality women who will hold you to a higher standard and help you to get there. He said all women need that support system. You don't need these women you run around with who have lower standards than you and talk you out of your righteousness and your commitment to God and holiness and your dignity. You need a circle of women that will say to you, girl, you deserve more than that. You're worth more than that. Come on out of that. Surround yourself with sisters with standards. Number 5, take your time before entering into a new relationship. When you come out of a toxic relationship, you have to let your system clear of all of the toxins. You don't need to jump into no new relationship. You're not qualified yet. You've not debriefed. You haven't learned all of the lessons. You haven't taken in all of the facts of the previous situation. So you need a period where it's just you and God, and you just really allow God to purge your life and your soul of all of the trash that was deposited, all of the pollution, so that when you come back at this thing, you have a different perspective. And then number 6, open your broken heart to God. God is the only heart healer. And I feel you. I know your heart is broken. Because men play, man. We play. It's a game to us. But for y'all, it's very serious. It's very serious. And you don't make these moves because you just you're just a low person. No, you're a queen. You're just a queen who's not been indoctrinated relative to who you really are. And you've been manipulated. You're just a queen that's being manipulated. And your heart is broken. God is the only one that can heal a broken heart. That's why you need time with him alone. Psalm 34:18 says, if your heart is broken, you'll find God right there. If you're kicked in the gut, he'll help you catch your breath. I think that's the Message Bible version. And then number 7, watch this. Move forward with your personal goals and vision. Now check this out. Check this out. Hagar was used. Hagar was a slave. She was all of that. But when you go back and read the whole story, Hagar moved on, and God delivered Hagar and Ishmael, her son. And God made Ishmael a great and wealthy man, made him a king. So what am I saying to you? It doesn't matter what is in your past and the mistakes you made. When you go with God, God will always take your life and bring it to a place that other folk never dreamed it would go. Hagar turned into a queen, and she gave birth to a king. You can't come up until you move on. And then watch number 8, and I'm done. Forgive yourself because God already has. I see you sitting there crying. Man, forgive yourself. You're not the first woman to fall into a trap like that. You're not the first woman, and you're not going to be the last. Tragedy into triumph. That's another lesson now. Because so many women feel like, because I've messed up, because I've fallen into this, that my life is over and it's hopeless. Man, Hagar went with God, and God made provision for Hagar. He took care of her. And Hagar, God raised her seed up, raised her son up to be a king. Forgive yourself because God already has.